And speaking about injured quarterbacks, though, Mark, I mean, we're looking at Deshaun Watson. Let's just move on into the next
ultimate
logical point
injured
of
quarterback.
injured quarterbacks. Andrew Luck, we're expecting him to be back this year, which I will be honest, if he is back and at least about 75%, I would say, this team 8-8. Just with it, like with Andrew Luck, they become such a better team than they were last year. I know they got Jacoby Brissett behind them, but the thing I want to ask you first, I'll let you pick which one you want to start with.
Okay.
Do you want to start talking about Andrew Luck and what we can expect from him coming off the injury, or how this team could it look different under Frank Reich coming over from the Philadelphia Eagles?
Well, I think let's start with Andrew Luck because then we can expand out to the entire offense.
Perfect.
And the rest of the team. So with Andrew Luck, he looks like he's fine. He looks like he's healthy. He looks like life's going to be good. But until we really see him out there in his pads throwing the ball, you still have that little bit of doubt in your mind of, is he actually going to come back? Because I drafted him in fantasy football last year. I thought he was going to be back for sure last year at some point, enough to maybe squeeze me into the playoffs. But it's one of these things here where it's just going to be a rough situation. And, he has sat out long enough to where, fortunately for him, the offensive line is quite a bit better. You got to worry about Ryan Kelly, Matt Slauson, who's okay. But besides that, Quentin Nelson, huge upgrade. You've got that amazing piece right there. Now, you did lose Frank Gore, which I think is going to be an unfortunate part because I don't really know where that running back is.
I don't. Right now, the depth chart I'm looking at lists Marlon Mack as the starter, but it's probably going to be a running back by committee. You got Mack, then you got Wilkins and Hines are both drafted, and also got to give some love to former Fighting Illini Josh Ferguson, who's also there, Christine Michael and Robert Turbin, who former Seahawks, are on that running back committee right now as well. It's probably going to be a running back committee behind him. But, offensively, this team, we're not expecting it's not going to be a ground and pound. It's going to be Andrew Luck throwing it to his wide receivers where he's still got
T.Y. all day.
He's got T.Y. out there. They bring in Ryan Grant from the Redskins, which I always go back to the joke of when Ryan Grant failed his physical with the Ravens, all Ravens fans together said, "Who's Ryan Grant? Who's that again?" Yeah. They pick up Deion Kane in the draft, where I'm high on him. Clemson guy, I don't think he becomes like the third option, but I hope he does good things.
He might, because there's not that many options here.
My whole thing is I wonder if there will be enough weapons for Andrew Luck to do anything this year. And I look at the defense, and this was a defense that was not really good last year. The only defenses that allowed more yards than them last year were the Giants and Tampa Bay, who they were also top 15 picks in the draft as well. I look at this team, and if Andrew Luck wills it, they're, to me, an 8-8 team down the road. That's the best they're going to be. But I would not be surprised if this team kind of stumbles into a 5-11, 6-10 season, because to me, the question with the Colts this year is how far can Andrew Luck drag this team through this year?
Yeah, and it's interesting because you really look at last year and you look at this team and you're like, wow, this is one of the worst teams without a doubt. They couldn't pass the ball. They were okay running the ball, but below the middle of the pack. They didn't score touchdowns, and they gave up a lot of touchdowns. So they were pretty much at the bottom for most everything, except the running game, which they were just below average. Now, there are tons of, but they didn't have their number one, quarterback out there. They got a coach that got fired and should have gotten fired previously. They don't have a good defense. They've never had a good defense. The offensive line was still a work in progress. There's just so many things to this puzzle. They had to trade for a quarterback because the quarterback situation was so bad without Andrew Luck. to where this is just one of those times where, what did we say, Ricky? Last year, throw it out. Nothing matters. It's all brand new.
Well, it's like you're taking the whiteboard and basically not just erasing everything. You're taking that nice little paper towel with the water and you're just washing that whiteboard completely clean. So there is no remnants of last year's marker on that whiteboard.
Exactly. But the problem for the Colts are that their win-loss is completely dependent on Andrew Luck being back.
Exactly.
You need him back because, like I said, offensive line, it's better. It's the best it's been in a long time. You've got T.Y. Hilton still. I'm not a huge Eric Ebron fan, really. And I wonder about, besides T.Y. Hilton, really where the rest of these options are.
I mean, Eric Ebron will be all right he'll be all right for them is what I want to say. He's not going to be
Andrew
anything.
Luck needs somebody who's
he's not
going to be
anything
guy.
spectacular, but he could be a reliable option, a safety. I think, if anything, Eric Ebron is the second, and Jack Doyle becomes the safety blanket for Andrew Luck and this team.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the thing that they really need to have happen, but I don't think there's a ton of separation between Doyle and Ebron here. And it's a kind of offense where they don't have great T.Y. Hilton is great, but besides him, they don't have great other options. They don't really have a running back out there. So they're going to need, and because they pass the ball so much, they need quality guys out there catching the ball.
And that's to me where the question is how many games is this team going to win? Because right now I have them at 8-8, but I'm looking at this schedule going, the beginning of the schedule is interesting because the Bengals could be winnable, but I could see the Bengals winning that game. And then you get two NFC East road games right off the bat. You get Alex Smith and that Redskin team that's not a bad team.
No, they're fine.
Out there in Washington. And then you get the defending Super Bowl champions. Reich returns home to Philadelphia where he was last year. You get the Texans week 4. If they're healthy, that could be a close game. And then you get the Patriots week 5. So, I mean, kind of like what I was saying with the Texans could be true with the Colts, where if they go 0-5 to start the season, even with Andrew Luck, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't put my money on that because, I mean, the Bengals game could go either way. But, I mean, even, to me, even with their second half, it's there's winnable games against, the Titans and the Dolphins, but then they end the year, they play the Jaguars, the Texans, the Cowboys, and the Giants. That is a 4-game stretch that I could see them 2-2 at best, maybe 3-1, but I wouldn't be surprised if they go 1-3 or even 0-4
Honestly,
in that stretch.
I mean, with Andrew Luck, things change because he can will this team to win games. But without Andrew Luck, this team's going to be lucky to win 1 or 2 games going into the bye week at week 9.
Yeah.
With Andrew Luck, I still think that the Eagles is going to be really tough. The Patriots are going to be really tough. I think that the Texans will be tough. The Redskins are difficult, but the Bengals, there's a game where they can win. The Colts, the Bills, those are games they can win. They can compete with the Redskins as well.
You mean the Jets and the Bills?
Jets and the Bills.
You said the Colts and the Bills.
Yeah, the Colts. Well,
the Colts can beat the Colts.
They play themselves.
They beat themselves.
You know,
they didn't. The other team didn't win. The Colts just really beat themselves. In this
the worst thing for the Colts is then especially if Andrew Luck doesn't start week 1, it takes him a little bit, or if it's just a slow start. Coming out of that bye week, you still got to play the Jaguars twice. You're still going to play the Titans. You're going to play the Cowboys and the Giants, who you were saying before are going to be improved this year. The only one that's kind of an easier one that you have is the Dolphins. And there's a lot of people out there who think that the Dolphins are going to be a better team this year.
I would say the Titans and Indy, too. I would give the Colts a win against the Titans and Indy.
With Andrew Luck, for sure.
Yeah, without Andrew Luck, it's without Andrew Luck, the only teams in the first, 8 games that I could see them beating are the Jets and the Bills, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they lost to the Bills.
But it's going to be so dependent on this.
Or I'll say the Jets, because the Bills' quarterback situation I don't like as much as the Jets.
Yeah, it's so dependent on this new offense, which with new coach in Frank Reich and having him from the Philadelphia Eagles, former Super Bowl champions, that is going to be the kind of thing where we really need to see, once again, what is the answer to the question? Who is it that really turned and okay, above average rookie season for Carson Wentz
DiFilippo
into amazing and took a backup quarterback almost out of the NFL and made him into a Super Bowl MVP. There
what
are
you're
three
saying
people
is,
that could have been.
Peterson, Reich, or DiFilippo? Who are we giving the credit to?
Exactly. There are three people who that could have been, and they all went in different directions. So we're going to find out, hopefully, the answer to that question. But the problem is, I think, for right now, I think it's going to be a delayed response for it. Because for Reich, this year, it doesn't really matter. Even if Andrew Luck comes back and wills them to win 8 games, doesn't matter. You're not going to the playoffs. You still don't have enough pieces yet.
I'm not going to say they don't make the playoffs, because to me, how I'm looking at it is right now I have 4 teams in my middle of the pack. And only one of these teams we have yet to look at on a preview. The 4 in no particular order: Colts, Texans, a healthy Texan team, Chiefs, and Ravens. Those are right now all the teams I have around 8-8, 9-7, right there in the middle. It's, to me, out of those 4 teams, who is going to step up? Who's the one that's going to win a game or two to position themselves for that 6th playoff spot in the AFC? Because, I could see multiple teams tying at 8-8 and it coming down to a tiebreaker, or I could see any of these. The Colts getting a win here or there that they shouldn't have. The Texans, the Ravens, the Chiefs, kind of winning 1 or 2 to then give them that position of, all right, we're 9-7 while you guys are 8-8. We're now in that 6th spot. You guys are sitting out of the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I think the Colts know that they are not a we're striking right now kind of team. You know, you look at what they do. They trade back to get more picks. They get Quentin Nelson, who is just a secure block.
Yeah.
You know, they get some nice things. What I like too, of getting more offensive line in Smith, and going on the defensive side, and getting a guy like Leonard, hitting the defensive end position twice in the 2nd round. They did a lot to really kind of shore up this team, not for an immediate impact, but coming up soon. And Reich is taking this idea of, hey, I know that this team has been going through a rebuild. That's okay. I know our quarterback is injured. I don't even need him to play next year all 16 games. I do want him to come back at some point, but I am okay with this team not being established yet, because it's not our time. We're going to get there, but it's not our time yet.
The thing that I'm typing to look at is, it's been so long since Andrew Luck has started. I just wanted to look up really quick so I don't misspeak here. Yeah, so the last 2 seasons with Andrew Luck, 2017 not being counted because he didn't play all that year, and even 2015 he only played 7 games. The last 2 years that you had Andrew Luck for some games, you were 8-8. The last year that you made the playoffs was the last full 16-game season. The 3 full 16-game seasons you've had with Andrew Luck, all 11-5, all have gone to the playoffs. One of those was a championship, an AFC game in 2014 where you lost to the Patriots. Am I saying that with an Andrew Luck playing 16 games, this team goes 11-5? No. But this year with this team, if Andrew Luck plays all 16 games, I could see them being, again, like I said, 8-8, and him dragging this team. It's kind of like, I almost want to compare the Colts this year to think of the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA from this last season without the expectation of a finals, where Andrew Luck, much like LeBron James, will be good enough and great enough to drag this Colts team into a 6th seed.
Well, plus, I mean, really, the conference is weak as well. The Eastern Conference is pretty weak in the NBA.
Exactly.
Where, yes, the AFC Conference is the weaker of the two.
I was going to say, it is weaker.
But I don't think 8-8 is good enough to get you in. This is not and I know this has been a while since this is not Sam Bradford's Rams getting in, and everyone's saying, really? The Seahawks with that Marshawn Lynch, the beast mode, where everyone said there's no reason for this team to even be here.
Just to make you happy, I'm going to, like, looking at my wins and losses, there's 2 games that can flip with Andrew Luck, and it'll make them 10-6. Bengals week 1, Raiders week 8.
Well, if they're a 10-6 team, yeah, sure, they can get in.
Like, they are, to me, like, healthy with Andrew Luck playing all 16. Their win-loss, like, them and the Texans, to me, are almost the same. Like, my window is like, yeah, I could see them 7-9, 8-8. 10-6 is probably the best I can see them this year. And that's like, to me, for the Colts, 10-6 is like if the Patriots went 16-0. Like, it is a perfect year for them if they go 10-6.
The hard thing for the Colts is just everyone's going under the assumption that Andrew Luck's going to come back and be rookie Andrew Luck. Or, be that 2014 Andrew Luck, 40 touchdowns, 16 interceptions. Everyone's expecting that's what he's going to be. He could come back and be a guy who's throwing 20 touchdowns and 18 interceptions, and only be throwing for about 3,500 yards because he is just not completely ready yet. And even if he is completely ready yet, it's been a long time since he's played. It's going to take some time of really adjusting and getting back into it. It could be a slow start.
Before I say what I was going to say, I want to ask you this because I just looked at the preseason and I don't remember this ever happening. Do you remember in your lifetime a team playing a team week 4 of the preseason and then opening with that same team week 1?
I don't. I'm sure it's happened.
Because the Colts are at Cincinnati week 4 of the preseason and then host them week 1 of the regular season.
Yeah, I feel like that's a silly thing to do. I'm sure it's happened in our lifetime, in NFL history of the preseason too. It's happened, but yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
What I was going to say, though, is the one Colt preseason game I'm circling for, I have to watch this game. I have to see this game in one way or another. August 25th, week 3 of the preseason. It's the Niners and the Colts in Indianapolis. Because week 3, that's going to be the week where, all right, we're giving the starters the most snaps that they've ever seen in order to get them ready for the regular season. And to me, that is going to be an interesting game to watch because we're finally going to see, we'll see Andrew Luck for like a series against Seattle and Baltimore. But we're finally going to see our best look at Andrew Luck and what we can expect for him this season. But also on the other side, you're going to get hype with Jimmy Garoppolo. And that to me is going to be a preseason game where it's like, all right, we're going to get the best look at an up-and-coming quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo. And then what we can expect from the injured quarterback trying to come back to what he once was.
But the reason why I'm going to say make sure you circle it in pencil so you can erase it is there's no guarantee Andrew Luck's going to play. If I'm the Colts, I'm saying I don't know that I don't know if I want him to play at all. I don't even know if he's going to be ready to play in the preseason. He still hasn't thrown as far as I'm aware, he still hasn't thrown a normal NFL-sized football. Someone can check that on me.
He's still throwing that miniature football?
The little Nerf ball? Yeah, I think he's still throwing that thing. But, they expect him to be ready for training camp and be out there throwing footballs and being completely healthy. But who's to say that he doesn't get out there and, he's ready, but it just doesn't feel right again. Let's just give it a moment. Because Andrew Luck blames being too eager to come back for his continued absence now. So I think they're going to take it very carefully. If things just aren't feeling right, they're not going to force it. So, he might not even be ready. I do fully believe that he's going to play the majority of the games this season, but he might kind of ease into some stuff. And if things aren't feeling great week 1, week 2, he might not play.
The last big update I'm kind of seeing, and this is from early June, is that the Colts will limit his workload in training camp. So training camp for sure, he's going to get his workload kind of limited, which is smart because you're not going to overdo it in, I'm going to say, useless training camp where just because he's playing all of training camp, you're working him really hard, doesn't affect your wins and losses. He is going to be the linchpin of this year, though, for the Colts, and he is going to make this team go. If he's not there, I could see this team being a 4-12 team again. If he is there, They're an 8-8 team right now in my mind, but I wouldn't be surprised with a really good year if they are 10-6. Any final thoughts on the Colts before we move on into the Titans?
To me, really, the thing that summarizes the Colts for me is just that it's a huge mystery, and we're going to find out a lot as soon as we actually see Andrew Luck playing against another team.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in that comment section. What do you expect from the Colts this year? Will Andrew Luck be healthy, play all 16, and how far can he bring this Colts team? Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section.